now I see through, but forget to tell you that when we come loose and everything starts to fall through, 'cause I can't do this without.
I think it's deeply complicated and it's really beautiful. I think that I remember I was a fairly young poet when the poet Rigoberto Gonzalez told me that poetry is service.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it so much because I really believe in the way poetry can bring people together, the way that it can change a community, can shift something, how a line can become a mantra, all of these things. And yet there's a part of me that feels like it's so deeply personal and so deeply private.
I feel like I came to community at the Loft Literary Center, in the literary community, for the Native community at the American Indian Center. And so these things, were the places that I was going to go to touch community. But then I found out, and this was the personal introverted side of me, that I really wanted to meet other communities and just actually go to the physical place, be there. And I chose natural places that were important to Dakota people who were here originally and continue to be here. It was just to me, it was like this progressive unfolding of meeting different communities, which I loved.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how well I did that, because I'm not naturally person who just goes out a lot and finds a lot of new things, because I've had my communities supplied for me through wonderful organizations.
But community and land are so connected, right? So you also were going to a community of trees,
exactly,
and a community of waters, and that is a place of grounding that I feel like is so important when so much of what we do is in language, which is ethereal and of the air and can feel so slippery. And I think sometimes it's good to not just meet with people, but to meet with places.
And also just helping poets from all different communities think about the original names for places in the Twin Cities is one of the things I did. So working with indigenous languages was just such a great starting point for conversation. And, poets responded to that, and that was really wonderful. So it just kind of has this cycle of moving beyond the individual, which is where I'm more comfortable, as you guys both have described.
I'm reminded of the medicine of poetry for me and through the hardest times in my life. And also how it really helps me metabolize, so much. And I'm just always so grateful to, I was telling y'all about this group of kids I was working with over north, and us working on a collaborative poem, and being let's really think about our city. What do we dream for our city? What do we dream for the world? And just getting to connect with different communities. I love how you said about also nature as a community too, because I think that's where, I get resourced, and get grounded and nourished. And then also, bringing it to community and inviting young people, inviting elders, to me, just sort of gives me so much hope and grounding. And even getting to be around other people who are exploring and living a poetry leadership, which is kind of what this feels like. And also I think poetry is so honest, I feel like we're leaders that have to be honest because poetry demands that of us, I feel.
And as I was listening to both of you, I was thinking about how, what I found in going to people and having them co-write poems with me was that poetry is actually really accessible. And I think we're taught to say, oh, it's not accessible, it's extraneous, it's not important. But people know when they said something nicely or beautifully. They'll be like, or they even had the thought and wrote it down, whether they call it a poem or not. They know the beauty of their language, whatever that language is, and that moment, because it resonates with them, right? So to have somebody, I kind of trick them into writing a poem with me. And when we get done, I read it back to them, just 4 questions and my 4 refrains. And they're like, oh my God, I got prickles.
They know it.
Did I do that? How did I do that? So they know it. And then there's this just moment of love, if it's love of art, love of language, whatever, you get this moment of exchange. And that was one of the things that surprised me. And I felt like, kind of like, do I deserve this? There was like a lot of love in the city of Minneapolis and from the city of Minneapolis people for the role.
Yeah.
There's sort of this, which I was not ready for, I don't know about you, but feeling that so many people concerned, caring that you made poems. That's like not what we're prepared for as poets. So receiving that and honoring it, I think is part of our work.
Yeah, people are so inherently poetic.
Yeah.
You know, especially when we're like being vulnerable and feely or emotional or in love or angry or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like poetry lives in, you know, that highly emotional realness, I guess.
Remembering your own musicality and hearing when other people find theirs is so satisfying. Like when someone was like, oh, that came out of me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's my music.
Yeah, and I didn't know.
I never heard it before.
Never
Right?
got validated.
Beautiful. And then we're also, I think, like we're receivers. Like we can hear it and we can tune that, you know, but not everybody's going to be able to do that. And it's part of, I guess, what gave me the chutzpah to want to do this work.
You know, so it's a lot of this receiving, and you realize that a lot of what you're doing, you don't even see it.
Yeah.
You plant a seed, and then everyone who's in service of poetry or in service of the arts takes that seed and plants it. And it feels like it's not, then it becomes not about the individual at all, but just the planting of a seed and the acknowledgement that it will go on without you.
Thank you, big sister, Poet Laureate. And bigger sisters, laureates all around the world. Thank y'all.
Little big sister.
Little big sister. I know my big sister's a little sister.
Let's go get our tattoos. Let's go get our laureate tattoos.
Yeah. Don't give me an excuse.